everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. So it's Tuesday night. I'm pre-recording this because I'm actually in New Orleans enjoying some time touring around in advance of BackStage, which is a Stampin' Up event for Stampin' Up for leaders. And so I just thought I would pre-record my sketch challenge so that you would have the sketch challenge to play along with while I'm away. So I will check the comments on this video after the fact and answer any questions that have come up. But I hope you enjoyed this sketch. I've decided to keep it fairly simple. I'm going to use sponge daubers again. If you watched my sketch last week, you saw that I used sponge daubers to color the stamped image. This time I'm going to use sponge daubers to actually ink up my stamp, so a little bit different. All right, I'm going to switch over. I'm using the soft Seedlings stamp, which I've had my eye on for a little while. It's a beautiful leaf, so my card is a bit fall themed tonight, but I hope you enjoy it. All right, let me switch over and we'll get started. So first of all, this is a sketch, and I will go live on Facebook and Instagram so that you can get the measurements in just over half an hour. So it's a pretty simple sketch. Card base is either 5.5 by 8.5 or 4.25 by 11. And then layer number 1, which is kind of this orangey layer, is 3 3/4 by 5. The circle, layer number 2, is 3 inches by 3 inches, roughly. So, and then this is the sentiment layer. Now I've said 1/2 inch by 3.5. I actually had to make it 3/4 of an inch because the sentiments on this stamp set are wider than 1/2 inch. So whatever you're using, just kind of change up your sentiment size to match what your sentiment is. All right, so that's my sketch. Again, I'm using this beautiful soft Seedlings stamp. I think it's a distinctive stamp. Just by the way it looks as I see it. Distinctive stamps gives you such detail to them. And I really love this. I don't know what that's called. Is that an acorn? Oak. I think it's an oak tree. So this is an oak leaf. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've grabbed some. So mine's going to be a bit of fall theme. I don't know why. It feels a bit fall-like here, even though it's very hot today, but it's kind of dewy in the morning. So I've got soft suede as my base, and I've got it 4.25 by, oh, let's trim this. So your base is, in this case, I want it 4.25 by 11 or 5.5 by 8.5, either work. And then I'm going to score it at 5.5. Take this, fold it into the mountain or into the raised line, and take your bone folder and give it a good crease. Okay, and then I cut a piece of pale papaya as my layer number 1. So this is 3 3/4 by 5, and I'm going to emboss this. This is one of my favorite new embossing folders. This is called the Leaf Fall embossing folder. I don't know what you can see there, but you can see it better. Just falling leaves, just so pretty. So we're going to just put this over as far as we can because and up as far as we can. So we get a bit of an open space at the top and the bottom. But just such a pretty embossing folder. Bring my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine in. And I was explaining this the other night. You always want, when you're putting your embossing folder through, to put the closed kind of crease forward through first, or the open part first, not the side openings. So it doesn't really matter whether it's the bottom opening or the top crease. But that's the recommended way to put your embossing folders through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And of course, this is a 3-dimensional embossing folder, so you need plate number 1 and plate number 4, one of the thick ones. Okay. And now when you pull this out, you can see, isn't that pretty? It's just so pretty. So let's take that. Shame to actually cover it up, but I am going to cover up part of it. That's kind of the way it is. And I just realized that I didn't pull any embellishments or ribbon for this card, so we'll have to think about that. All right, so I'm just going to take and adhere this layer right on like that. All right, I went ahead and cut this is the largest circle from the Stylish Shapes dies. So it's the largest circle. I also have taken, and I've got a piece, I said a sentiment piece. I've got a bit of rough, so I'm just going to take and kind of trim it off. Sometimes when you cut it, I don't know, I think my paper trimmer needs a haircut or needs a replacement. So, all right, so that's kind of how my card's going to go. But I've got some Very Vanilla. I decided Very Vanilla was kind of the color I wanted with this. I think I said on last week's sketch challenge, I don't use Very Vanilla very often, but it seems that every once in a while it's the right color. Now for my leaf, I have pulled Daffodil Delight, Calypso Coral, Pale Papaya, and then of course I've got Soft Suede. What I'm going to do is I am going to ink up my stamp using Pale Papaya to start with. So I'm just going to take and ink it up using Pale Papaya. You just make sure it is inking up. That way it is. It is a distinctive stamp. It looked like it wasn't inking up, but it is. All right, so I've got Pale Papaya on it. And then I'm going to take my Calypso Coral, my Daffodil Delight, and just a little bit of the Soft Suede. So I've got sponge daubers. I'm just going to pick up, and on this leaf, I started with my lightest image. So I'm just start with your light image and then go darker from there. But I'm using a clean sponge dauber. And the fun part of this, and if you've watched me, you'll know that I actually love it when I don't really know how things are going to turn out. And I realized I didn't ink up all of it. All right, so now the last one I'm going to do is I just want a little bit of the Soft Suede on it. All right, so let's do some of these. Where's my yellow? My Daffodil Delight. So you could do all sorts of colors with this. All right, let's see how this goes. I'm just going to huff it a little bit like you would if you were inking it up with your markers. Ooh, isn't that pretty? Can you see the colors that I have on this? It's just so pretty with the different colors I was able to get just by sponging those colors on to the stamp. I really love this technique. The other thing that you can do is if you don't have sponge daubers, you could use your blending brushes, or you can use markers to do this. So probably the classic, the Stampin' Right markers, and you just kind of take the brush end and flat and kind of tap the brush end on, and you will be able to get a similar technique. Now, there are no dies for this, so I'm just going to take and fussy cut. So when you're fussy cutting, I'm not trying to get right close to the edge. I am just kind of going maybe a 1/16 of an inch around, and I'm moving the paper with my left hand, so not the hand that's got the scissors in it. So steer with the opposite hand, not with your scissors, and you will find fussy cutting to be maybe
maybe a much more enjoyable experience. Maybe not, but when I learned to fussy cut like this, I found it much easier. So I could have taken that circle and just, I guess, stamped, although this is a bigger image than probably will fit, which is why I thought that I would fussy cut this out. So I'm just kind of going around. I'm on the bigger side, so the big leaf should go quicker. It's getting there. Gosh, I really like how this leaf turned out. You know, sometimes there's techniques that you don't. I used to do this technique all the time, and I don't think I've done it for a while, and I'm not sure what made me think about it tonight. Actually, I think what made me think about it tonight was the fact that on my last sketch challenge, I used the sponge daubers to actually color the stamped image, and kind of made me think about other ways to use sponge daubers. I think if you're like me and you have blending brushes, you probably pull your blending brushes out more than you pull your sponge daubers these days. So I just really love using my blending brushes, but sponge daubers are amazing tools too. Try not to cut my stem off. There we go. Keep the pieces that I've already cut out of the way. So I'm trying not to get too close to the edges. I don't want to cut any pieces off, so almost around. You could, if you were cutting this out and you didn't want to go around all of these, you know, the stems like I'm going through, you could actually just cut it around and leave the very vanilla in the middle. There we go. But it doesn't take too long. Isn't that pretty? All right. So I'm going to use dimensionals to put this on to my circle. And then I'm going to use, I've got some of these are the adhesive foam strips, and I've cut mine because they come longer. So I'm just going to take one and put a little bit up this stem. You could take the edge of your mini dimensionals. Actually have quite a wide edge, so you could take that if you don't have these strips, but they come in really handy. So we'll just take. So I'm just cutting little pieces to put on the acorn spinners. I think that's what we used to call them. They kind of, when they fall to the ground, they kind of spin. There we go. Get all the backing off. Oops, I pulled the whole thing off. Let's fix that. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to take and adhere this. So it's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. There we go. You know what? And the adhesive foam sheets are a little thicker than the dimensionals. So I'm just going to double up my dimensionals in a couple of places. So all you do is take a second dimensional and pop it right over top of the first one. There we go. That's feeling like it's a little bit better. Yeah, those the strips are a little bit thicker. So I'm not going to pop this circle up. It's got lots of height to the circle. So we'll just take some liquid glue and put this right there. Now, the last thing I need to do is I've got my piece. Again, I made my piece of soft suede a little bit wider. So I'm going to stamp in soft suede, so tone on tone. And I'm stamping the Thinking of You. Just such pretty font. So hopefully, let me see if I can get it straight before that's pretty good. Oops, need to pull it down a little bit. Good thing there's always two sides to every. All right, that's not too bad. I probably could have cut it an inch wide. Now I'm going to take and just cut some banner ends. So just cut in from the middle at the end and then cut up from the corners to that point. I just find that helps to get my banner in the center. Otherwise, it is never centered. There we go. All right. Let's use some dimensionals on that. Always put one in the middle so my middle of my sentiment doesn't sag. And this can go just right here at the bottom. Like that. Now, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do for some embellishments on the card, but maybe I'll pull some of those opal rounds, but I'll do that afterwards. I've got a piece of Very Vanilla that I've cut 4 inches by 5 1/4. And there is a really pretty one of these oak spinners. So let's just take that. And I'm just going to stamp it in soft suede on the inside of the card. Or on the inside of the card. Like that. I love these distinctive stamps. I don't know if you can see the detail that you get when you stamp them. They just are so pretty. Right. So that's my fall themed card. It's 30 some degrees here on the West Coast today, so I'm not sure why I'm thinking fall, but anyway, it is what it is. Okay. There's my card. I'll put some embellishments on when I'm done. And so there's my sketch. So there's all sorts of ways you could use that sketch. It's just kind of a quick and easy sketch for lots of different cards. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, the actual sketch with the measurements will go live probably in about 10 or 15 minutes on my Facebook page group and also on Instagram, so you can grab it and use it if you've missed the measurements as I went through. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. I will be back next Tuesday night with my sketch challenge. I'm away until Sunday, so I hope you have a great week. Stay tuned. I will be posting some pictures from New Orleans, as well as probably some lives as we're out and about in New Orleans. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me. Happy stamping.